12,000 years ago, before the pyramids, before Stonehenge, before the written word, someone somehow built a temple. Not a shelter, not a village, a monument, at a time when humanity was supposed to be primitive, hunters, gatherers, but what they left behind tells a different story. Welcome to Göbekli Tepe, the place that rewrites history, whether we're ready or not. In 1994, a Kurdish shepherd near the town of Şanlıurfa in southeastern Turkey noticed something strange. A piece of stone poking through the dirt. At first glance, it looked ordinary, but this stone was smooth, shaped, carved. Soon after, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt arrived on site. He'd seen ancient ruins before, but not like this. These weren't just rocks. They were arranged, aligned, monumental. When the stones were carbon dated, the results stunned the world. Göbekli Tepe wasn't just old, it was impossibly ancient, built around 9600 BC. That's over 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza. That's before the wheel, before agriculture, before history as we know it, a temple built by so-called primitive people. This site shouldn't exist, but it does. Göbekli Tepe isn't a village. There are no homes, no kitchens, no graves, no tools, no fires, nothing that says people lived here. And yet, something was built here. Towering limestone pillars, some weighing 20 tons, stand in perfect circular formations. Some are 16 feet tall, aligned with intention. Someone designed this with purpose. This isn't the work of wandering tribes. This is architecture. The stones are carved with creatures, foxes, scorpions, snakes, vultures, each etched into stone with symbolic care. Some pillars show human-like forms, with arms folded neatly in front, as if in ritual, not chaotic, not random, but sacred. These stone figures have stood in silence for over 12,000 years, always watching, always waiting. Low whisper, who built it and why? The carvings at Göbekli Tepe aren't random scratches. They weren't made to impress, they were meant to last. Foxes, birds, snakes, scorpions, headless human shapes, etched into stone with such care, it's hard to believe they didn't mean something. Some believe they represent constellation star maps locked in limestone. Others say the symbols tell a story of a world-altering event. One theory points to a comet slamming into Earth around 10,900 BCE, a fiery impact that triggered the Younger Dryas, a sudden ice age that wiped out species, shifted climates, and reset civilization as we know it. If that really happened, maybe Göbekli Tepe isn't just a temple, maybe it's a monument. A warning, a record of survival, a cosmic message written in stone, meant not for their gods, but for us. Here's what we know. At Göbekli Tepe, the largest pillars weigh over 20 tons. Some were carved from limestone quarries hundreds of feet away, then somehow transported They shaped stone with stone, lifted monoliths without cranes, and aligned it all with the stars. No blueprints, no writing, but precision that rivals modern engineering. This wasn't the work of random wandering tribes. This was organized. This was intentional. This was something else. So the question is, who led them? Who had the vision, the knowledge, the authority to inspire dozens, maybe hundreds of people to build something like this? Here's the part that makes Göbekli Tepe even stranger. They buried it, not abandoned, not destroyed, buried intentionally, carefully. Someone filled the enclosures with tons of dirt and rubble, not over centuries, suddenly, on purpose. Why would anyone go through the trouble of building a site like this? A sacred space carved from stone, aligned to the stars. Was it fear? Was it reverence? Or was it survival? Some think the builders feared what the site represented. Others suggest they were forced by climate, war, or catastrophe, that burying it was a way to preserve it. And it worked. Göbekli Tepe stayed untouched for over 10,000 years, perfectly sealed, preserved like a time capsule. Maybe they weren't trying to erase their past. Maybe they were trying to protect our future. We used to think that civilization began with farming, that once we had food, we built cities, then temples. But Göbekli Tepe tells a different story. It says, maybe we gathered to worship first. Maybe belief came before bread. Maybe the first thing we built was meaning. 12,000 years ago, someone carved stories into stone. Stories of stars, of animals, of fear and hope. They weren't surviving day to day. They were reaching for something bigger. Maybe what made us human wasn't